Hey guys, it's Glenn from glenscarcollection.com, and today we're going to talk about the S2000 market. Remember, if you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button. If you're already a subscriber, hit the notification bell. Like and share this video so our channel can grow, and as always, leave a positive comment below. All right, so the S2000 is one of my favorite cars. If you follow the channel, I've owned two of them. There's only a couple cars I ever bought twice, and that was my two NSXs, two S2000s, two E46 M3s. So those are probably my three favorite cars. Both of my S2000s went up in value, and I'll talk about today's market and where I think it's going. So the S2000, they built 66,000 examples. They were about 34,000 new, depending on the year. And when they were new, they couldn't give these cars away. In 2004, they changed to the AP2, model year 2004, and made all these kind of changes to make it more livable, make it look a little more masculine. And it didn't help sales too much. About 2/3 of the cars are AP1s, and about 1/3 of the cars out of that 60,000 are AP2s. In 2004, they had a special lease at $299 a month because they were cluttering the Honda dealerships and they couldn't get rid of them. They sold a few, and in 2005, they raised that lease to $329 a month. Because of those low leases, most AP2 S2000s are either model year 04 and 05. 06, they made a lot of changes. They went to the drive-by-wire throttle. They changed the seats, some other changes, a lot of little changes that added up to a decent amount. I don't know if it's a huge difference between the two of them, but in 06, the production numbers got lower and lower every year. 06, 07, and 08, and 09, the lowest. And then, of course, they had the CR to close out the run. So we're going to talk about the regular S2000s here, not the CRs, because they've always sold for a premium. So in 2014, I bought a 9,000 mile 2004 in Sebring Silver. The original owner had bought it brand new on his 70th birthday and drove that car till he's about 81 years old. I put a couple thousand miles on it. I bought it for 19,000, sold it for 24,000. Then I bought a beautiful red 11,000 mile 06, and my dream color always on that car was either Laguna Blue or red, and this car was, perfect. They were both perfect. Original paint, the whole bit, no modifications. I bought that for 24, and then in 2017, I sold it for 28,000. And that was top dollar in 2017 because the car was all original paint, perfect condition, not even a wear on the seat, nothing. I thought about selling to Bring a Trailer, and Bring a Trailer at the time told me a very low mileage 06 was 24,000 at best. And I said, no, I think it's 28, and they wanted to give me a reserve of 24. And you never know, Bring a Trailer 3 years ago wasn't what it is today, where everything just sells for crazy prices. So maybe I would have put on there and only got 24, and that would be, I'd be afraid. I thought it was a $28,000 car all day. So I sold it to a subscriber, 28,000. He still has it and loves it. And now the market's exploded. If I had that car today, it might be worth 35 or 40,000. And let's talk about that. Is this a bubble or is this here to stay? Well, the S2000 is a great car. Honda hasn't really replaced it. We have the Civic Type R, but that's front-wheel drive. They haven't had a rear-wheel drive Roadster since the S2000 in a manual transmission. Now, there's been plenty of news the last couple of years. Even 5 years ago, they were going to come out with a new version, and then it was going to be an automatic. It was going to be a hybrid, all-wheel drive, who knows? And it's never come to fruition. Now there's a new rumor of another S2000 coming. Will that spike interest like the NSX did? The new NSX certainly helped my original NSX, the one I have, spike up in value because people looked at the new NSX, saw the price it was, and said, you know what, give me a rear drive, mid-engine, stick shift car and I'll buy it. And they went to the old NSXs, and we've seen those prices double. And those prices are still doubling. They're even tripling, and I don't think they're going to go away because the NSX is a exotic car, and they only built 8,900 of them here in the U.S. So it's not it's pretty limited production numbers if you're under 10,000. So the S2000 is 66,000. I'll tell you, the BMW 1 Series M is 740. The M2 CS is 500. So the 993 Turbo is under 2,000. So I think we can compare the rise in prices for the S2000 to the rise in prices of the 993 Turbo. So my 993 Turbo doubled in the 4 or 5 years that I've owned it. And, when I was buying this car in 2013, 2014, somewhere in that range, they were 60 to 80,000. The lowest perfect mile car was in the 80s, and a driver with over 100,000 miles was 60,000, and all day long. And I had test drove that car, basically $65,000 price points, my 993 Turbo and the 997 Turbo. And even though the 997 Turbo was way faster, The 993 turbo was more visceral to me. No traction control, no stability control. You really had to drive it. When those turbos kicked in, it was like nothing else. It was scary, actually. And I bought that because the 997 turbo I test drove at that time, and they were cheap back then. They've gone up in value too. They're probably about 85 now, maybe even 90. That 65,000 mile example, I felt like I can just keep my foot down and steer because the electronics were doing all the work. And it was stupid fast, especially over rough pavement with the 993 turbo. Didn't have handling anywhere near the 997 turbo. So I'm going to kind of equate that to the S2000 market. So the 993 turbo market just went nuts. Those $60,000 to $80,000 cars went from 90,000 to about 180,000. I remember a Mecum auction in Monterey where a car was unsold. I think it was a 10,000 mile car, but unsold at 180, 190. The seller didn't think that was enough. Now I wish I'm sure he wished that he sold. So what happened is, not only was it a great car that went up in value, but as soon as people saw that, speculators who are not necessarily car dealers or car enthusiasts, they're just entrepreneurs that want to make money, they bought all these 993 turbos, or they were in the market and buying these cars for 100 and trying to resell them for 150, 160, 170, 180. It's a great car, but I don't know that it's a 180 driving experience. You've seen my video of the 992 GT3 RS, and I would rather have that car than my 993 turbo. And that car is probably a $150,000 car, $140,000 car. So once they got to such a high price, they kind of imploded, just like the housing market, just like the stock market, just like a million other things. So speculators got in there, bought these cars up, drove up the prices essentially. Those prices couldn't sustain because usually the faster something goes up, the slower goes down. The exception to that, I think, is the NSX, but the NSX is really kind of an exotic. It's there's a lot of things going for the NSX. You can get a faster Porsche turbo than the 993 turbo. Though it was the fastest at that time compared to the 964, because it was twin turbos. It had all-wheel drive to put down the turbo, put down the power, and much faster than the 930s, which were like on and off switches with the turbos. But the modern cars are so fast, it doesn't even hold the candle. The 991.2 Turbo S is like 2.8 seconds, or even less. I think like 2.3, some ridiculous number. So the 993 turbo is about 3.7, 3.9, 4.0, somewhere in that range. So basically, speculators ruined that market. They bumped them up so high, everybody, fear of missing out, right? FOMO. People are buying these cars for 150, 180, thinking they're going to go up to 250 $1 million. Never happened. So those 180 cars probably plummeted to about 140. Those 120, 130 cars plummeted to about 90 to 100, somewhere in that range is what they trade for. So because it went up so fast, and that's one of the reasons I sold mine for the McLaren. I saw the prices coming down. My car at 80,000 miles, at 100,000 miles, they usually need a top-end rebuild like Matt Farah did for any air-cooled cars. That usually cost about 20 to 25 grand. After 100,000 miles, you probably need rebuilt turbos, more tires and brakes. So instead of sinking 30 grand into my car and it would go down in value, sell now before I had, 5 years ahead of before I have to sink that 30 grand. Now I think those cars will start slowly going up, but they won't get to where they are. So they were here, they went to this, they came down here, they'll never be as cheap as that 60 to 80 grand, and now you'll see them slowly going up. So I think a 993 turbo is a good buy now because I think the market has already crashed and it's going to go up. It's not going to shoot up, it's going to go up slowly, but if you buy a highly maintained car, you could probably drive that car for free. You can probably spend 100, 120, maybe getting a higher mileage one, and that'll go up 10,000 or something like that, maybe 2,000 a year, 3,000 a year. You have to put some money into it to maintain it because they are turbos and they do need maintenance and the running costs are high if you drive it a lot. But overall, it's a very reliable car and pretty simple to fix. S2000 is a very reliable car and easy to fix. So I think we're starting to see speculators come in the S2000 market. So every dealer has a car now and they want 30,000 or 40,000, or everybody on, bringing trailers paying for 30 or 40. So I do think long term, the S2000 will be a good investment, but I did videos on this, how to find the perfect S2000 and stuff. And, I think you need a car with all 10 VIN tags, original paint, no modifications. And those cars may be $50,000 cars one day if you wait long enough. But people are paying for cars that had the bumpers replaced or resprayed or modifications and air boxes and exhaust and suspension. And they're paying top dollar as if it was, a cream of the crop, untouched example. And when you look in any collector car market, the stock ones do well, not the modified. The modifieds may have their day when all the cars are selling for a lot of money, but that's going to change. So I think we're getting speculators going in this market. People are buying thinking they're going up. What I would do, I think it's a seller's market, honestly. If I had an S2000, I would sell right now. I could have got big bucks for my old car. Even if you have a car that's not so good, sell it now because you're never going to get top dollar. I think the market's going to correct itself in the next year or two. Just like the housing market, everybody's moving out of the city and they're going to the suburbs, and the suburb prices are going up 100 grand. Well, that's going to change. It may not change tomorrow, next year, or the year after that, but it's going to change. So I wouldn't buy an S2000 for 30, 35, 40,000. To me, it's a $30,000 driving experience. Now, I love S2000s. I've had two of them. I've never owned a Boxster or Miata, but I think the average person will take a Boxster over a Honda, will take a Boxster over a Miata. And I think that's realistically long-term is going to keep the prices down. So if you can get a nice Boxster for 40, a 2013 Boxster S, the average person is going to want that Porsche over the S2000. So if you're paying 35 or 40 for a car, S2000, even if it's a low mileage cream puff, unless less is the best of the best, you're going to lose money. If you're paying 20,000 or 25,000 for a basket case, you're going to lose money because the market is going to self-correct. So I think the market's going to go up. We may even see $40,000 or $50,000 S2000s, and then it's going to come down. Now, it's not going to come down to the 15,000, 20,000 that they used to be, but it's not going to stay at 40,000 either or 30,000 either. I think the market will correct probably about 20% and then start going up maybe 2 to 3% a year. So if you're going to get a car, if you're buying one now and really paying top dollar for it, you better keep that car forever. And maybe you should keep the car forever. I should have kept mine forever. But I really think we're going to see a big correction in the market. And typically, I don't say that. So there's always people making YouTube videos, whether it's the collector car market or the housing market, and they say it for 8 years in a row. The market's going to collapse in 2019. The market's going to collapse in 2020. And you know what? You say it 8 times, you're going to be right. You say it 10 times, you're going to be right because these things go in circles. I would not buy an S2000 now. To me, if I could get one for 25, 30 grand with decent low mileage, all original stock, original paint, original body panels, I would do it. But those cars I see for 30, 35, asking 40, and I think that price is going to correct. I think those prices are going to go back to 25, 30,000, and then the 100,000 mile cars maybe around 20,000. And then they'll start going up again because they're still a great car. That, you know, stock, all original paint examples will go up because out of the 66,000, that's probably less than 1% of the cars. I think when I did my video, I found 8 cars. So 66,000, say 1% of any cars are for sale at any one time. So let's just say there are 600 S2000s for sale. Out of those 600, I only found 8 that met my criteria. So those 8 are the ones that'll be $40,000, $50,000 cars, but everybody's selling all 600 of them as if they're cars like that. So that's, you really got to be careful. They're a great driving experience. If you like modification, you can essentially get those modifications for free by buying a stock car. But just be careful because the market will correct and then it'll start going up again because until Honda has a better replacement, which I don't think there will, I think the future looks very good for S2000s, but I wouldn't buy now. I would only sell now. So sell in the S2000 and then, you know, buy in the next 2 or 3 years. And then I think the prices will have dropped probably 10, 15, 20%. And then they'll start going up again, probably 2 or 3% a year. So slow, long growth, just like a stock, usually does better than fast growth. I think, you know, remember history. 993 Turbo is a perfect example, and I think the S2000 is going to follow that suit. So in a few years, I think it's going to be time to buy the S2000. All right, guys, let me know what I think. Am I right? Am I wrong? Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your opinion. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.